How's it guys, Munash here, and today we have the first war of Season 25 up against NY, which means lots of rank 3s. In fact, I think I only fought rank 3s in this war, and I did 9 fights, so a pretty strong defense. But this war was also quite fun for me, and I think a big reason for that is just getting to use Nick Fury a lot, who's a champ I bring to war pretty regularly, but lately I haven't been using him a lot. I'll usually just bring him for 1 or 2 fights, but today I actually got to do 4 fights with him. Same as Doom, and then I just did 1 fight with Quake. In fact, I only brought Quake for the synergy with Nick Fury, just to help Doom, you know, just so he can evade if he needs to. So yeah, today we're gonna start on Path 2, then we're gonna deal with a Power Snack Tigra, then an E.M.P mod Terrax, and switch to Path 1 in Section 2. So our first fight is gonna be this Invisible Woman with Strike Counter Fury and Power Struggle, which should be a pretty straightforward Nick Fury fight, as long as this doesn't happen too much. I feel like I say this a lot, but did you see that, how the game just froze at the time I was gonna parry that first hit of hers? Then I take 3 hits, which take me down to almost 50% health. So this is just a wonderful start to the war, and the season. Perhaps it's just a taste of what's to come, like a bad omen. Maybe this is what I should expect from now on, I don't know. I certainly hope not, but after last season I do have my doubts. At least I can say it didn't happen again during this war, so I just carry on with the fight, which is a very straightforward fight with Nick Fury, as long as you know how to fight Invisible Woman. Even if I didn't, I could probably just rely on the power of a rank 3 Nick Fury to carry me. But besides dexing special attacks, it's just being aware of when invisibility can trigger, and just make sure you don't hit her unless you have at least 5 charges. So she just suddenly collapses in the middle of a special 1 animation. And now we're gonna move on to Corvus with Strike Counter Fury, Brute Force, and Power Focus 1. So this is a pretty standard Doom fight. The only thing is I won't be able to do the usual Doom rotation without him gaining a bunch of passive Furies, which is perfectly fine because I don't even want to use a Special 3 since I can't even get that perfect Power Steal, just due to Power Focus 1. So just sticking to Special 1 and Special 2 is actually much better for this fight. No need for that big boy Fury, Doom hits hard enough without it. I mean, this fight barely took a minute, and I'm not even boosted yet. So I do shorten my Doom combo, like I'll do a medium, light, 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 and then a heavy attack, or just 3 lights and no heavy attack, then throw a special, just so I don't use up too many of those strike counter charges. Cause Corvus can crit through block, and if he has a lot of Furies, then he can do some serious damage, especially if you were to miss a parry or just block instead. But that's not gonna happen in this fight. We had it very well under control. He's got very few Furies, and Doom is a tank who can take a few blocked hits very well, better than most champs, so really there was nothing to worry about. And he goes down with the Special 2. So next we have a Hit Monkey with Strike Counter Fury, Armor, and Power Drain. So this is another Nick Fury fight, so I just had to heal him up first. And a very straightforward fight with him. You just need to make sure you don't get hit, of course, because with Strike Counter Fury, he's gonna be able to hit pretty hard since I won't be able to use special attacks without him triggering that Primal or Assassin nonsense. So it was either I play it slow and use the Special 1 so he doesn't gain too many of those Furies, then wait out Assassin's Cunning if I don't have more than 5 charges to counter the evade, and just be patient with the fight. Or I could go with option B, where I just ignore the strike counter node, drop full Nick Fury combos, bait Special 1, and just rinse him quickly. Which of course is what I did because I am not a patient man. Says the guy who Quaked the Abyss thing for 25 minutes straight. But yeah, in this situation I just didn't see the need to play it slow, because as long as you don't get hit, it's a pretty quick and simple fight. The only reason it took about a minute long is because I had to spend 20 seconds baiting 1 special attack. I did use 1 Special 2 in this fight, which I actually didn't mean to. I was just operating on autopilot, I guess. I just saw that big hexagonal button flashing at me and I just wanted to hit it when it turned amber. Cause how could you not? It's just there staring at you with those perfectly symmetrical contours radiating with light. So yeah, I just couldn't resist. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, but yeah, Hitmonkey goes down and now we're gonna move on to Tigra. Now we're gonna move on to the center where we have a Tigra with Power Snack, Outlast, and Backup Recovery. So Doom is pretty good for this fight just because he has the power control, so he can deal with Power Snack and Backup Recovery pretty well, and just prevent Tigra from throwing that Special 2, which can be a little bit annoying to evade, but not the most difficult thing in the world. And I have done this fight with Doom and I feel pretty comfortable with it, so again I'm not gonna boost for it. She doesn't have that much health and I can use the Special 3, which can make controlling the fight a bit easier. So here I drop my block for 1 second and she decides to throw a special 2 from across the screen. And this is something that I've never actually acknowledged, but Tigra's special 2 animation is actually quite insane. Just the way she launches at you from across the screen, then starts rolling on the floor and doing some parkour nonsense. Like, imagine trying to replicate this in real life. All that effort just to look like a hyperactive fool. So I dropped my special 3, but before I launched it I had to make sure that I dex first, just to make sure Power Snack charged my precision buff instead of my fury from the special 3. Then it's just the usual doom combos, and now I'm gonna build another special 3. Backup recovery triggers, and this time I wasn't able to dex before the special 3 because my fury was about to expire, so I just threw it anyway. Which is perfectly fine because all I need is one more special 3 and one more special 2 to end the fight. One thing I like about using Doom for this fight, or just using Doom for this node in general, is that you can do the entire fight without seeing the opponent's special attacks. Just gotta keep your guard up by holding block and utilize reparry. Okay, so drop a post special 3 Doom combo, then drop a special 1, get that sweet power steal, into a special 2, and the Incinerates probably would have taken her out. So that's section 1, and now I'm going to move up to the left where we have a Terrax with E.M.P modification, enhanced energy attacks, burden of might, and rolling thunder. In other words, a bunch of stuff Quake doesn't care about, so I think it's pretty clear who I'm going to use for this fight. Psych, I'm using Doom. I wasn't joking when I said I didn't need Quake today. She does work pretty well for this fight, but Doom is also a good counter. Which is a bit odd because you often hear people say that Doom isn't a good Terrax counter because he is immune to power draining abilities from middle champs. But that's it, that's the only thing that hurts Doom in this matchup. So he can still do it, he just can't power control. So you just gotta bait specials like using a regular champ. So at the start of the fight and when he throws a special attack, you just gotta avoid hitting him until the rock field expires. So at that stage you can just keep dashing back whenever he gets close, or just parry before you dash back to prevent getting cornered. It's also a bit easier if you bait special 1 because the rock field won't last very long, but you can just bait special 2 if you don't mind playing around it for a little bit longer, and of course baiting special 2 means less instances of rock field, compared to if you were to bait the special 1 more. So the main reason I'm using Doom for this fight is simply because he's shock immune, so I won't have to worry about E.M.P modification, which is the main node in this fight. I also quite like that there's burden of might in this matchup, because you only get power drained after losing a buff, but you have so much more combat power rate, it just makes it so much easier to get to that special 2, which is your biggest source of damage. So it is nice that it only takes about 13 hits to get to that special 2. Okay, so now he's in assassin range, the fight has gone pretty well so far. He throws the final special 2, and this time I got cornered a little bit quicker than usual, and I did hit him a few times while the rock field was active. Not sure if I did it to get space or I thought it had expired. So I did take an annoying amount of damage from that trash tornado. But fortunately it's at the end of the fight, so I just gotta drop a few more combos after that. Then I can finish him off with an overkill special 2. So yeah, not too bad with Doom. So now we're gonna move up to part 1 in section 2, but I first applied a combat regen boost because I don't want to use more health potions. So now we have a Namor with Vigor and Indomitable. So this is gonna be a very straightforward Doom fight. I'm gonna use the usual Doom rotation, you know, special 1 for nullifying and get the aura, then power steal, special 3 for the big boy furies. Actually just one special 3, so one big boy fury and then a special 2 to take him out after that. So this will be a very basic Doom fight, and I think it was the least interesting fight for me this war. But we did get to bully this Namor. In fact, I don't think he threw a single special attack. Not because I was holding block and utilizing reparry and all that, but he was just playing very aggressively and being super cooperative, you know, just going into my parries instead of just throwing special attacks. It's almost like he knew from the get-go that he just couldn't win this fight, so he didn't even try, you know. It's like if you actually analyze his AI behavior and grade it, you'd have to give it an F because he actually did not even try. From that initial parry, he just went into every single parry he could, like blindly, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna do the same thing over again. Oh, I got parried again, what are the odds? Either the AI is that dumb, or it was more like, I was just placed just to die, you know, I'm a diversity placement, so might as well just get it over with quickly. So he has an easy W. So yeah, I just found that pretty interesting, because at first when I did this fight, I was like, okay, it's pretty basic. But after rewatching, I was like, wow. And they say the perfect AI doesn't exist. Anyway, now we have the Quake fight of the war, where we're taking a Guillotine 2099 with Buffet and Lionheart. So I'm sure many of you know Quake works well for this fight, for obvious reasons. Once I have the buff from Dexterity, I'll never trigger Buffet again, as long as I don't hit her and lose the buff, which I did end up doing towards the end of the fight, but we'll get to that. That was pretty funny. But yeah, just need to Dex twice within those 7 seconds of Buffet being on cooldown to get the buff from Dexterity. Or just Dex when Concussion is active, then you just bypass it. And then it's a pretty standard Quake fight, you know, just the usual, don't get hit. If you do, try not to die. I broke rule 1 though, I actually did get hit. I dropped my heavy attack towards the end, forgetting about Buffet. So I lost the precision, which means to avoid triggering Buffet, I would have to avoid Dexing. First of all, I could have triggered Buffet. It would have just made the fight a little bit longer, but not a big deal. But no, I have to maximize efficiency because Impatient once again. So I decided to go into heavy parry mode, and this is just to avoid giving her 15% health. So it starts off fine, I get the first parry, then she starts a new combo and I just fail to parry that first hit, taking a full combo and losing almost half of my health. And at this stage I can't even make an excuse for it because I think it's happened more than twice now. So yeah, I just suck at heavy parry, that's all there is to it. People think I didn't make a how to Quake heavy parry video because it's just such a simple playstyle, so I didn't need to give it much attention. But the reality is that I'm just so bad at it that I'm not the right person to be making such a video. I don't know what it is, man, because I used to use it before I even knew that heavy Dex was possible or even existed. But now I very rarely use it, so it's become my weakest playstyle. In retrospect, I probably should have done heavy only in that fight. That probably would have been easier for me than just heavy parrying. Heavy parry is just so hard, dude. I think I need to watch a video or something. So now we're in the final section where we first have a Void with the best defense, Brute Force, Spry, and Limber. So Void is a champ that I generally don't enjoy fighting against, just because of how he forces you to change your combos and play less aggressively sometimes. But with Nick Fury, I actually do enjoy this matchup because Fury just has so much to counter this fight. And with him, it feels like you're using more of Nick Fury, you know, you're throwing special ones more because they have good hits on them, you know, 8 hits is pretty good for dealing with those debuffs. Either way, you can also just purify them by knocking him down, so you just drop a heavy attack and then they're all gone. And of course he has good damage output with the bleeds and class advantage. So this Void fight was relatively easy, there's nothing he could do to mess it up. And I also had the Wag's pre-fight ability for the passive stuns to bypass Limber, which just makes the fight much easier because you can just parry heavy whenever you want. It doesn't feel like you're fighting Void sometimes because you don't actually have to stagger your combo or even watch the debuff timer. You just gotta be able to knock him down when you see the icon under your health bar. So you can also play more aggressively, which just means less worrying about brute force. And yeah, Void just respects Nicholas J. Fury. Finished the fight pretty comfortably with about 8% health loss, so I should be good to take the next fight without healing up. So now we're gonna move on to M.O.D.O.K, the second most handsome champ in all of MCOC, because we all know Mojo is number 1. Easily the most impressive physique, and who can say no to that killer smile? So now we have a rank 3 Protect M.O.D.O.K boss, another fight that Nick Fury works pretty well for. So there are 2 main ways to approach this fight. The first one being to lose the decoy and then go unblockable, then you can just bypass auto block. Or you could do it with the decoy where you make him auto block and then try to punish very quickly, and utilize the special one to help bypass it with the disorient debuff. Which is how I like to approach this fight, because Nick Fury can solo it without losing the decoy. It just takes a bit more patience and understanding M.O.D.O.K's force field timer. I have done the whole fight before like that, it was last season War 7, but this time it did not quite work like that. To be honest, I didn't quite play this fight very well, with one of my biggest mistakes being the timing for my special ones. I would often throw them when I didn't need to, like when he wouldn't have a chance to auto block, so I would have been better off going with the full combo and then a special one. But it didn't make a big difference, the fight was still going pretty well. The biggest mistake I made was when I punished him a little bit too late. Because what he did was, after auto blocking me, he dropped a 2-hit combo, but there was a slight pause between those 2 hits. Then after those 2 hits, he finally drops the heavy attack, but he also had a slight pause before that. So I tried to punish with the full combo, but I got auto blocked on the very last hit. The force field came back just before my 4th light attack, like almost at the exact same time. Also, one nice thing about Nick Fury's special one is the pushback and recovery time. And I just find it pretty interesting how after the first 2 hits, every other hit will push you back a little bit more. So by the end of the animation, you're on the other side of the screen, so the opponent can't even punish you in time. Okay, so decks the special 1, go in, bait the auto block, he drops 2 hits, followed by heavy attack, drop a full combo to punish, get auto blocked on the very last hit, 2 crits in a row, takes me into the real Nick Fury stage. Now I'm holding block for some reason, don't ask me why, but he throws a heavy attack and I resist the first hit, but I couldn't actually back off after that. It was one of those issues where if you're already holding block, then you can't actually do anything until the animation ends, so I only resisted the first hit thanks to level 1 stand your ground. Then I was starting to wonder, how much more useful will this mastery be if I decide to max it? Cause I've only been using level 1 for the past few months and it actually has saved me a few times. And I get surprised whenever it kicks in cause I often forget that I even have it. Cause a few years ago, we used to regard it as a bit of a newbie mastery, like why would you run stand your ground? Just don't get hit by heavy attack, it's that simple, don't be a noob. And the only reason I'm running it right now is because you first need 15 points before you can activate willpower. But I can't deny that it has saved me a few times at level 1, so yeah, I don't know, call me a noob, cause I get hit by heavy attacks and I can't even heavy parry Quake very consistently. So yeah, a pretty solid war, but this one did end up as a tie unfortunately, which is really annoying, and I have a lot to say about how ties are handled in war, but I am going a bit over time on this video, so I'll probably save the rant for another one. So that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you do, you know which buttons to hit, but as always, thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.